And we're back. Another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On this week's episode of the PC Multiverse on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel, go ahead and check it out because it's my thoughts on the latest docuseries on Netflix called Mr. McMahon, covering the life and times in a broader sense of Vince McMahon and the WWE. So go ahead and check that out today. Plus, we talk about Ubisoft making some big changes to one of its major games that was coming out this year. So we go ahead and talk about that as well. Inside Sports Fantasy Football, you can still go ahead and check it out. It is still very relevant because it deals with NFL Week 4. Not only some picks that we made for entertainment purposes only, but some advice we give you because it's our annual Do Not Panic time for those who are struggling with their fantasy football team. But also as well, of course, we got some great people that are coming on board here today. Want to go ahead and give a big shout out and mention to our members. You could become a member today for just $2.99 a month. That's right. Just $2.99 a month gets you some inside stuff that I only give to you guys first and foremost. Plus also as well, we give you guys a big shout out. Plus also we give you, of course, and here is Laker Tom as well. Want to go ahead and mention that we give you some big shout outs, emojis, badges, and more. So go ahead and check it out. $2.99 a month. That is a good deal indeed. But also as well, Lakerholics.com. You want to go ahead and check out Lakerholics. Always a good conversation to be had. Good information from the number one Lakers writer that's out there. At least he's the most prolific, according to one database I checked last year. It was like he was number one ahead of everybody else. It is Laker Tom. And then also Jamie Sweet and Michael Heinrich. All the things that they do at Lakerholics.com. Plus a big shout out to John Costa. Go ahead and check out his channels, which we're on right now, Clutch Talk and Lakers Corner. Please like and subscribe. And speaking of liking and subscribing, like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that notification bell to get the latest notifications on when we go live with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Intel, Samir, JSJ, Kurt, Darren, Sports Baby, Richard, Bloodhound, and Xbox. Got to give you guys a shout out as our members, but it is training camp time, everyone. Training camp time is around the corner. They're already at El Segundo working out. Unofficially, LeBron is already, posting up and dominating his son in practice. And oh boy, great. Family time is almost near. I'm so thrilled. The Lakers are already gearing up for another season of basketball, and it starts here next week with Family Picture Day, aka Team Picture Day, Media Day, and then also after that, training camp. So here today to go ahead and discuss training camp are two great guys indeed. First up, first man here is a man that I envy because he's on the most beautiful place that I think there is in the world, in beautiful Hawaii. It is Michael Heinrich. And Michael, aloha, my friend.
Aloha.
Yeah, I don't want to do the what's up, brother, because I probably sound pretty bad doing it. But it's so funny because when my wife and I go to Hawaii, my wife on the way on the plane, she picks up a very distinct Hawaiian accent, and she's able to get away with it when she gets off the plane. It's not intentional either. That's the weird thing, because it just flow in her natural conversations. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, since when did you become Hawaiian? My goodness. All right, there you go. But Michael, great to have you here. I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts. We're heading into training camp. Finally, basketball is back for the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this camp. There's a lot of, what's this team going to be like? What is, I'm interested. I want to see JJ's system. I'm interested in seeing it because we don't have anything to fall back on. So it's going to unfold before our very eyes during the preseason games. So we'll get I'm really looking forward to, what kind of offense he's going to be running, what kind of defense he's going to be running, what it's going to look like. I mean, we've got a bunch of young guys that I think could take another step. They're all going to have to if we're going to have a successful season. I'm just really, interested in just seeing what this whole, JJ system is going to look like on the court. We hear in his podcasts, we hear what he talks about, but let's see what it looks like on the court. It's going to be, pretty interesting to me.
Also here today, a good man indeed. He is the mastermind behind so many great articles as the #1 Lakers writer that's out there. He is also the guy that always is setting afire some good controversy on his Twitter account at LakerTom. At least if you read the comments after his postings or his repostings or his agreements on wacky trades. No, he doesn't even do all the wacky trades. Sometimes he'll just repost a wacky trade. That Marcus Smart trade, the guy who wrote it, I think probably was doing some crack when he did it. And I'll just say that out loud because I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. But he retweeted it, and it's funny because I saw the responses to it. But it is my good friend indeed, Laker Tom. Laker Tom, it's been all too long. I know Darren, who is in our chat, hopefully pretty soon, is probably having tears of joy coming down his face because he's been asking for you. But you are back.
Summer break.
Well, summer break. The Lakers are back. And, despite what you think and I think and everybody thinks about what the Lakers did or did not do this offseason and what they may do this upcoming season, at least the Lakers are playing basketball once again.
This is the proverbial time of year when all of the glass half full people have to swallow all of the discomfort, disappointment, and frustration of the offseason and the last trade deadline and everything, and try to look at this team from a positive standpoint. And frankly, there are some real solid reasons for being optimistic if you're a Lakers fan. And I think it starts first off with JJ Redick, because I think he brings a potential upside to the coaching position that is really essential for stabilizing the Lakers front office and manage and ownership. Every team is going to be successful based upon how well the ownership, the management, and the coaching can agree upon a direction and execute a plan to go in that direction. What it seems to me, and I'm trying to look at this whole thing from a positive standpoint. I'm trying to refresh myself and say, okay, as fans, we're not privy to the conversations that the front office people have, that the players have with the coach and so forth. And so we have to attribute a lot of things that happen in Lakerland either to the benefit or detriment of the people making those decisions. Everybody agrees that we never should have let Caruso walk, and there are other certain things that have been made bad. And probably the biggest disappointment has been the Lakers' inability or unwillingness to make a move. They got stuck with these guys with these player options that they gave out to guys, and everybody, because of the way the finances of the new CBA seem to have affected all of the teams, it's become a very conservative trade market. And people are really hesitant to get rid of picks. And the Lakers, you can look at that a lot of ways. You can look at Rob Pelinka as being a guy who just doesn't have the vision to basically say, this is the play I want to make. This is the guy I want to go after. And instead, he puts out bids for various people, always underbids, hoping somebody will do it and he can, get a coup with some sort of under-market bill. And that's the interpretation that basically myself and I think most Laker fans have looked at. They blamed Rob Pelinka for being either unwilling or afraid because of the Russell Westbrook situation of making a big move. But there's another alternative there that's one that I'm hoping could become true. I may look back at this particular position and think that it was a foolish position, but I'm an optimist, and so maybe the Lakers have really realized that they really need to find a coach who can give them a vision that Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss don't have the ability to implement themselves. And part of that vision also has to be, let's stop making short-term moves for players that are only going to be here for a year or two and give up draft picks for those guys. So that does take a lot of gambling out of the picture. And I think with the new CBA, that gambling is something that we're going to see a lot less of in the league. We're going to see a lot more conservatism when it comes to trades. And maybe the Lakers are on the second or third year of a position that is going to change the all-in approach that they have. They're saying now that they're only going to trade any of their picks if it can provide sustainable Lakers excellence. And that doesn't apply when you're trading for a guy who's on a contract and you don't know for sure if you can sign him, or trading for a guy who may be older. We obviously have gone for younger people over the last couple of years. Anthony Davis is the oldest guy on the team next to LeBron, and he's only 30 years old. So there's that huge gap between 30 and 40 years old where we don't have anybody who falls in that category. We probably need to add a couple of guys who have some experience if we want to really compete for a championship. But the wild card is, how much better is J.J. Redick going to be as a coach than Darvin Ham? He's announced the starting lineup that took Darvin, 60 games or 40 games to get into. I think 43 games was the number of times that we played before we really saw that same lineup that was in the division in the conference championships. So maybe the fact that we lost a lot of players to injury, and those players hopefully will come back and provide some of the balance that we need. Hopefully we can make a couple of moves at the trade deadline to really elevate the starting lineup and so forth. But I think there's a lot of questions that could be answered very positively this year because of J.J. Redick. So I'm with Michael, and I'm eager to see what happens. He's talked as good a game as you can talk. Now we got to see how the team plays. Can he get the players to play the right way? Can everybody stay healthy? Can the guys who aren't healthy finally get healthy? Can LeBron and AD play the way they did last year? If they can stay healthy and play the way they did last year, we're the only team with 2 top 5 superstars in the league. And I don't think our team is that bad. I'm really intrigued to see what happens with D'Angelo Russell. And I'm glad to hear that JJ is really going to count on him. I thought a big mistake would have been to not start the guys that he's starting, and the second biggest mistake would have been not to start D'Lo. He's just a critical part of it, and I want to see him have that career year this year. I still think he may get traded, but I also think there's a chance for him to change the scenario again, to change the dialogue, because he's so hard to get rid of without hurting our offense. And this team is going to win because of a great offense and hopefully a good defense. They're not a team that has the potential to be a great defensive team unless they make some major moves and solve some of the backcourt problems that they have. So looking at everything, I'm going into the season excited. We're not expected to be anything other than a play-in team. I think that's great. That's fine. Let's see what we do. I happen to think we're going to get off to a good start, and I happen to think that we're going to be 4, 5, or 6 spot in the West, unless we get a trade at the trade deadline that could really help us, and we could pick up a real center who could be a starter. Other than that, I think that we just have to continue to develop, continue to see the players who we have on the young team. I want to see Connect really come through. We definitely need to see Reeves take his game to another height. I do like the comparisons of the impact that Reeves could have to looking at the way that that the Knicks were able to improve dramatically with the addition of a guard, you know. And I think that Reeves has the potential to take his game to another level, much like the Knicks guard did. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of positive signs. I do hope that the addition of Redick into the triumvirate of the management and ownership will give the Lakers. We'll put all of the Lakers on the same page and have them working forward toward a really sustainable championship. We won one championship since LeBron got here, and that's what the strategy of almost every other team in the league is just to win that championship, even if they have to do it on a one championship in 20 years. The Lakers still hopefully will try to. I'm looking at this as a move to try to say that we want multiple championships. We just don't want one championship. We want to build a dynasty again, and this is the right way to go about doing it. You can't do that with short-term, quick, all-in moves. You have to instead build from the draft, build from trading for young players that you can develop into stars and elite role players, and be wary all the time of wasting assets that aren't going to come back, that you aren't going to be able to have a player that becomes part of that sustainable group that you're trying to build. So I'm very happy with training camp coming up. I'm happy with almost all of the developments other than, I just hope that Vanderbilt will be okay when we start camp. If we could get him healthy, then I think that we have a good chance to be the surprise team in the NBA this year.
Once again, it is Lakers weekend, Lakerholics Spotlight. It is Michael Heinrich and Laker Tom, Lakerholics.com, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Michael, we'll touch on the injury status for Christian Wood and Jared Vanderbilt. I don't think that's happening where he will be ready for the start of training camp. Surgeries on both feet, I do not think will allow him to get ready. I think he said, what was it during the press conference from Rob Pelinka? I think he said he would be out the entire stretch, or he would be it's a very gray area, very questionable on if he makes it back.
Well, they said he's going to be ready for opening day, but
opening day.
Yeah.
But the training camp and exhibition season, he might be held out quite a bit, but we'll see what happens. Again,
he probably won't play. I don't think he'll play until the regular season starts.
I think they're going to be ramping him up, and from what I got the impression that he's begun the ramp up process, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah,
that's the general feeling I got from watching like the sports, Sportsnet and stuff like that. They've had more conversations on that, and it sounds to me like he's entering the ramp-up stage now.
Maybe media day will give us
right after the end of the season, they said, so that it's not like it's a recent thing. Yeah. And one of them was just a removal of the bone spur.
Well, maybe media day will give us a clarification if he is able to speak more on it here coming up on, I believe it's Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So Michael, I want to ask you this. There was a trade yesterday involving Karl-Anthony Towns heading to New York for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and a first-round protected pick via Detroit. I want to ask you thoughts on this. It looks like New York has gone out of the way to try and get the center that they needed to go ahead and play at a better level. The Lakers, according to many, depending on who you ask, but most people think that the Lakers do need more size up front. There are still teams out there that do have front court size available as far as that's concerned, but the Lakers have yet to yield an offer that will elicit that trade to get through. So your thoughts, my friend, now that the Minnesota trade has gone through, do you think this is going to maybe either for the Lakers or for another team start to spice things up before we get to the regular season? Maybe another trade or two, perhaps?
I don't know. You in trades, you hear both teams won or one team won. Could this be a trade where both teams lose? I've never been a big Cat fan, number one. I just have, he plays 6'6" at 7'2", you know, and as far as I'm a big Randall fan, but they were able to play with, Cat with him because Cat could hit the three. Randall is not a good 3-point shooter. He's not going to stretch the floor. So now you're going to have Gobert, plugging up the inside because he just can't. He doesn't stretch the floor. So I don't know. I mean,
and he's not going to be a starter either. Because
what's that?
He's not going to start either because Naz is going to step right in and take that starting spot.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Naz is going to play starter minutes between.
Well, that's something Joe and I discussed last night.
That year for him, he needs an extension next year. So
that's something Joe and I discussed.
That's why they traded. Yeah. That's why they traded Cat. They need to get Naz into the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's something Joe and I. He was very adamant about getting Naz into the starting lineup, and I can't say I would be disagreeing on that. But Randall, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Naz would be the perfect guy for us.
Randall coming in off the bench as a sixth man, I'm not sure Randall would be in love with that process. So
that's why it could be. That's why Michael could be right that this trade could be one that could backfire because Cat is not going to protect the rim the way.
That's another thing. Cat and
they're guarding. They're depending on their perimeter defenders to be able to cover for him.
Cat and Tibbs is not a good mix. Yeah, Tibbs is all about defense, and Cat's never been anything about defense. So
yeah, he's not a rim protector.
That's going to be interesting. That's going to be an interesting story to watch.
It's You'd think that, for example, I mean, I've been on this thing of getting a center. I'm so tired of this journeyman rotating minimum salary centers that we keep throwing in here. And yet I've never really been a big fan of trading for Cat simply because he can't protect the rim. He's not a good, and he can't defend out on the perimeter. So, you end up with a guy who can stretch the court, but
that's why they went and got Gobert because he couldn't defend.
So, it'll be an interesting trade to see what happens. I think what the Lakers are going to do, I think what everything in the Lakers is, I think they're waiting for 12-15. They're waiting for that trade for this big center who's,
Which one?
The one that LeBron recommended. That was on LeBron's list.
Oh, yeah.
That's the move they're going to make.
Maybe.
Brian, I'll just say this. While we all want another general manager in place, I don't think the buses are a good place to start. Again, I just don't think that the nepotism in the Lakers family is you should just try to steer away from that and actually go and get somebody that's experienced, that's able to deal with the position in a better fashion. You have in Tim Conley, a guy as far as that could be a free agent next year, who will be if he does, whatever you think of yesterday's trade or not from Minnesota, you think he will be a very marketable individual as far as that's concerned. You still have Golden State's former GM still out there. You still have viable GM candidates that are probably much better.
And Pelinka's contract is up in 1 year.
Yeah. So if that's the case, if it goes south, like we had an episode, guys. We had an episode earlier this week on if it all goes right, and then we did an episode on if it all goes wrong. And if it all goes wrong, I think public pressure will force Jeannie to make a move, and whether or not it costs Rob his job, we'll have to wait and see. But Laker Tom, let me get it back to you again. Coming into training camp, I feel like there's some positions there that as far as not with the first five, obviously that's already been solidified. But after that, the rotation, there's a lot of question marks. We went in last year thinking we had one of the deepest rosters in the NBA, and we were proven dead wrong on that. Now we come with a very questionable series of players after player number 5. A lot of questions. Where do we turn to as far as rotation? We spent a lot of money on Max Christie. Basically, we bid against ourselves to give Max Christie a better deal than he deserved, in my opinion.
or would have gotten,
had he been a free agent, let go as a free agent. So if that's the case, where do we turn to? Because after player number 5, it is a deep, dark chasm as far as dearth of talent. So I want to hear your thoughts on where we go to. And then, Michael, I want to hear the same.
Well, I do like the starting lineup, and I do think that JJ made the right call to announce ahead of time that, hey, this is a starting lineup. We're not going to screw around with experimenting with some new ideas and so forth. But I do think that obviously he's going to prioritize and change some of the roles of the players in that starting lineup. And I'm as eager as Michael is to see, exactly what we run on offense and how we handle our defense. But I don't, what you said about how we thought about the team last year going in has to be modified a little bit, because the reason that the team didn't perform as well as we expected it to do, I think were because of 2 factors. The first, obviously, was the injury factors that really screwed up a lot of things. And then the second thing probably was the coaching factor. The coach just didn't put the players in the right positions to succeed. So when you look at the lineup after the starters and you look at the backups, all of a sudden now we've got Gabe Vincent at backup at point. If Vincent can play like he did in the playoffs 2 years ago, excuse me, and he can perform like that, he's going to be a very good backup point guard. And then you've got, obviously, at shooting guard, you've got Max, who it will be interesting to see how Max does. I mean, supposedly he's had a good camp and we've invested in him. Part of that obviously might have been because of the Lakers' new approach of wanting to make sure that they didn't lose players after investing a couple of years in him by letting him walk and not doing it. Whether they could have got him for less money is probably true, but we also don't know what other people might have been trying to pick him off. And it would have been a terrible disappointment if we had let him walk. I mean, that would have just been a terrible mistake. So I like what we have in Max there. And I think that it'll be really important how well he plays. I didn't like when they tried to make him a point guard, because I don't think he's a point guard. And I thought that every time he tried to put him in that role and have him handling the ball from a standpoint of trying to create assists for other teammates, I felt that hurt his approach, because he just really doesn't have a good enough handle and passing ability to emulate, D'Angelo Russell and so forth. A small forward, Connect is going to get his shot. I think he's going to get a shot to see what he can do. Obviously, Vanderbilt would be the backup at power forward if he was going to come in there. I like Chris Wood at that spot. I don't think Wood can play center, but I think he can be excellent as a power forward. And I'm hopeful at center that the solution, I think, it's a gamble, but I want to see what Koloko can do, because he's the only guy we've got that could be a backup center who could really protect the rim, because he's got the height, the jumping ability, and he definitely is a shot blocker. I watched him. It's kind of interesting. He made 1 3 out of 12 shots when he was in his rookie year with the Raptors. That happened to be a corner 3 that happened to win that game. But in his, I watched 2 or 3 different videos of him working up and warming up for teams and so forth and taking shots. He has a nice long range shot. He didn't shoot really well from the free throw line or many free throws, but he's got some potential. Right now he's basically a catch and dunk and block shot type guy, but I think is if he can play the backup center position for us when AD goes to the bench, I think that could be a huge thing, because I thought that was one of our gravest weaknesses and vulnerabilities last year, is every time that Anthony went off the floor, our defensive protection of the rim was really a lot to need. We're betting on a lot of guys coming through, and we're betting on these guys staying healthy for a change. And at least so far, it doesn't look like like our, we've got a new people in all of these positions to support, the health of the team. And I hope they do a better job than the other guys did. Although it seems like, doesn't it seem like injuries are becoming even more of a factor today than they were 5 years or 10 years ago? It seems like that every championship in the last 5 years was never between the best two teams anymore. It's the healthiest two teams.
Michael, I don't share Tom's optimism on the players 6 through 12. Max is a very big question mark. I've already said on the air that I think that Jackson Hayes and his defensive instincts are like a mile apart.
Yeah.
He can do one thing well, and that's roll to the basket on the offensive end. And he's found nothing else able to do as far as on the other end where we really need him the most. Christian Wood, everybody, it was so hyped that he came here. A lot of people were really high on him, but he disappointed. And his words on the offseason, this is going to be my vengeance tour and all that. He's going to come back with a vengeance, has led to knee surgery. And his status at the beginning of the season is in question. Cam Reddish, well, that was I'll just leave it at that.
Guys that aren't even going to be in the rotation.
Yeah, it's like Cam Reddish will find his way into the rotation. I bet somehow there'll be some injuries, or somehow you'll see Cam Reddish on the floor, whether we like it or not, and not. But Dalton Connect is an older rookie, so he is more experienced coming in. So I like the kid in summer, so he may have a chance to really shine coming off the bench initially. Your thoughts, Michael? I see this as probably one of the weakest benches in the NBA. And I just, it's so sad because last year we were so optimistic on players 6 through 12. This year, not so.
Who are the players that we are optimistic on 6 through 12?
The last year?
Yeah.
Last year, well, Jackson Hayes was a lottery pick coming in here. We thought, okay, well, he didn't work out in New Orleans. Maybe he'll work out here. Cam Reddish, a lot of people out there had been asking this show for months. Oh, we got to get Cam Reddish to the Lakers. Cam Reddish to the Lakers. Well, you got Cam Reddish to the Lakers. There's the hope of the draft picks that they could pop, because we haven't even mentioned. Isn't it sad we haven't even mentioned the picks from last year because of how bad that they done, whether through injury or poor performance? That's kind of bad that both draft picks, Lewis and JHS, we haven't even mentioned him, and they barely get any notice at all.
Well,
even though JHS
makes 16 straight three-corner threes.
That's terrific. Yeah,
Luke Chapino's been getting big props from the coaching staff.
Yeah, he did last year too.
Yeah, he did. Remember, he was the star of training camp, according to Anthony Davis last year, and you saw how that one worked out, Michael. So you'll forgive me if I have a more realistic approach in regards to players 6 through 12. I am very concerned about the Lakers' depth going forward. Your thoughts, Michael, on the competition for playing time after players 1 through 5?
Well, I think that I'm good 1 through 7.
Reeves and who else is
what?
Who are the 7? Who are the besides the starters of the 7? What other 2 are you like?
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
Vincent is a solid basketball player. Okay, we kind of forget about it because he missed almost the entire year, and when he did finally come back, was down the stretch for 6 games into the playoffs. My goodness, that was like his training camp.
Right.
He was still trying to play himself into shape.
He could start for some teams.
Yeah, he's decent. He's a good, solid, and especially on the defensive end where we need some help.
Yeah, he'd be the best. He'd be the best backup point guard that we've had for a while.
Yeah, if he's healthy and he regains form, you're right. I think that Vando. I'm a big Vando fan. He's our guy that we can put 1 through 3. He's not people call him a power forward, but he's more of a perimeter. Defensively, he's a better on the perimeter. He's really good at guarding 2s and wing players. I've seen him shut down some of the best point guards in the league. So what was really bittersweet last year was just when he was starting to look like he had developed somewhat of an offensive game, he went down to injury again.
And his defense at that point in time was just elite.
Outstanding defense at that
Well,
point.
they finally figured out a way to do it, because it was 4-on-5 on the offensive end when he first got out there onto the court. But that's
3-on-5
about
when
2-3
you put
weeks.
Reddish out there too. Yes.
Well, yeah, Reddish. Yeah, him driving to the basket is an adventure. And I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I don't even talk about his outside shot. But you know, they found a way, instead of putting Vando on the outside, they put him in the dunker spot.
Yeah.
They finally realized that, you know what, that's where he needs to be on the offensive end. And then, of course, like you said, he got injured about 2 weeks later after he started to look really good. But you only hope he
could get a lot of offensive rebounds the way that JJ is focusing on that guy.
Well, they have to, because they're the worst in the. They were among the worst in the NBA on both the offensive and defensive rebounding end. So when that's the case, Michael and Laker Tom, you have to look at it. But Michael, I mean, again, you guys are trying to find anything as far as a positive sign for these guys.
No, those two guys I think are solid. Those two guys I think are solid. They're solid.
And Connect could put himself in that group.
Connect has to prove that he's not a disaster on defense.
That he's not a
if he can be
defense, man.
If he can be subpar on defense, he'll have a big role.
Exactly what I said during the summer. And I saw him live. He was a matador on defense, but even if he can get to just a barely below acceptable out there, if he can keep himself out on the court, if he can be that elite shooter that, and I know Joe was like so mad when JJ dropped that on him. I don't want to say he's an elite shooter yet, because let's get him to that point first and then start calling him an elite shooter. But if he can ever get to that status, if he can get you 40%, you'll have to deal with what's on the defensive end. That's more acceptable. But Michael, that would be a big help to the Lakers if that happens.
Yeah. As far as Max is concerned, I'm glad they brought him back. I saw good things from him. My biggest thing was basically they overpaid him. And, you know, I mean, he's not a sixth man off the bench. He could be a good 9th or 10th guy off the bench. If he's going to be a 6th or 7th, I think that's kind of a little bit, you know, above his pay grade. You know, if you were 6th or 7th man, not so much. 8th or 9th, 10th. I think from what I saw of him, because he did show me a lot of when he was given the opportunities. One of the things I had with Darvin that really pissed me off was you don't play rookies when you're on a team that's trying to win. I mean, young guys, I can see them not getting on the court behind veterans when those veterans are doing well. We had some veterans not doing well. So give him a shot. I mean, Cam Reddish, he got off to a fairly decent start the first month or so of the season, but after that, he wasn't performing. So why are you playing Max behind him? Give the kid a chance, see what he could do. You're trying to develop talent, give him a shot. So, I mean, I like Christian Wood when he's back. From not a center. He's not 210 pounds. He is not an NBA center. And he's the thing about it is over his, after he went to Houston, brought him in as a center. Remember when Morey was going to go super tiny ball and he was going to be their center? That was the first time he had played center. And he's been a power forward most of his career. And that last year, he actually defended a little bit better than advertised, which was a big plus. Unfortunately, he forgot how to shoot. If he can
just
shoot
that little thing.
Remember how to shoot.
One thing, yeah. If he can find his shot again, I thought he played. He's a decent rebounder, and I thought he played defensively when he was on the court with AD. They actually had a pretty good defensive rating. So he can play with AD. He's the big that can play with AD if he can learn to shoot again. If his shot isn't there, then forget it. if you can find a shot again, then yeah, we got something with him.
Well, he's
that
got
was really last year was really the first year that Chris really had a terrible shooting year, though. He's
been solid through his whole
well,
career.
now he has no choice, because if he doesn't do well this season,
he'll be out.
He'll be out of the league.
Exactly.
But Laker Tom, I want to bring to something that Rob Pelinka said in the press conference earlier this week with JJ Redick. It's something I heard echoed by, I forget who the other GM that said it, but it's the proverbial 30 games. We're going to let things play out and get a better evaluation of the team in 30 games. The Western Conference is pretty stacked. Despite what anybody thinks as far as the Minnesota Timberwolves and where they stand, I still think they're a pretty darn good team and can compete for the Western Conference second place. I think Oklahoma City is just absolutely just filled with all layers of depth, and I don't know. It's going to be really hard.
Teams are so damn deep.
Yeah,
man.
The regular season, I think OKC, has got it, just barring any health issues. But be that as it may, 30 games, according to Rob Pelinka, for his evaluation as far as for the team is. Your thoughts? Is that too little? Is that too much? Or is that just right? Because, again, I heard this.
I'd like to know when the 30th game is.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now.
Because my hunch is that it's probably around December 15th.
It is.
It's probably around the middle of December.
Yeah.
When some of these guys that signed free agent contracts are available.
Right. Yeah, let's see. December 15th, that's the date when a lot of guys will be available for trade. Let's wait until then to see what we're going to do.
Yeah, but again, your thoughts?
Starting line up 30 games, no problem. Give those 5 guys 30 games. I hope to hell they can stay healthy for 30 games, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be fine with that.
So, okay, so 30 games is an acceptable turnaround for you as well, Michael. I mean, because by 30 games, the season in some cases can get away from you if it really goes south.
Well, here's the way I look at it. First of all, there's only a handful of guys right now that may or may not even be on the trade block. There's only a couple guys that you kind of know for sure are, but for the most part, there's not very many, which has driven up the asking price to ridiculous amounts.
And maybe made those guys outside of what the Lakers are willing to pay.
So after 30 games, I'm thinking, okay, teams are starting to get a sense of where they are. There might begin to be a few more names that hit the market. Right now, there's nobody that we could trade for that's really available, that when you measure cost versus return.
By the way, that's the end of the year, just to let you know when 30 games hits.
Yeah.
Well,
cost versus return. Right now, with the names you hear, there's nobody that moves the needle when you consider what you have to get them. So you might as well take your 30 games and see how these guys do, and then wait to see if there's other guys that become available and or other guys that their prices begin to drop some. I remember with Grant up in Portland, when he signed that big deal and then Lillard bailed on him like 2 weeks later, the chat was, oh, they're going to have to pay people to get rid of his contract. I mean, that's just too much. Nobody's going to want to trade for him.
Well, that's what Joe was saying last night.
Now they want 2 draft picks.
I agree.
Now they want 2 first-round draft picks.
Well, they're not going to get it.
And
why would you want that bad contract?
And plus, I mean, you've got, say you're going to take Rui and Vincent, or Rui and Vando, or D'Lo and Vando, or whatever your combination. Those 2 guys are better than what he's going to bring you.
So you ruin your depth and your salary cap all at the same time.
Yeah. So
here's the other factor with the January. Let's say it's January 1st or late December. One of the problems that we're having is that we like those guys that we added to the team. They're on fairly reasonable contracts, and they're pretty good players in general. And when you're talking about, listen, when we go on to improve this team, we're not going to improve it by trading the guys that are 6 through 10. We're going to have to trade some of the guys that are 1 through 5. And that means that it's the value of Rui, it's the value of D'Lo, it's the value of the other guys that we possibly have as assets to trade. Now, they have been the new CBA, and everybody's fear about that has made it difficult for us to include draft picks to incentivize people to trade for these guys. So our biggest hope is to get off to a great start and have D'Lo have a great season, have Rui have a great season, and so forth. And then we'll be in a good situation.
You know, here's an interesting thing that, I was watching the Sportsnet, and they were talking about the starting lineup last year down the stretch. And they were 5 guys were 21-8. And we had the toughest schedule of anybody in the NBA. Everybody was playing for playoff positioning. So nobody was resting people. But the stat that I didn't know that really blew me away was over that 21-8 stretch, our defensive rating was 110. You look at the T-Wolves, they led the league last year in defensive rating at 109. Our defense with those 5 guys that everybody's saying, oh, we need help defensively. We need help defensively. Over that 21-8 stretch was 100. That would have been second in the NBA in defensive rating. You know, if it was
who was the coach then? Who was the coach then too?
What's that?
Who was the coach then?
Oh, Ham was
Darvin Ham.
Yeah. And so, and then even in the playoffs, defense wasn't really the biggest issue.
No, we couldn't hit the shot. We couldn't hit threes.
We couldn't hit the big shots. I mean, defensively, we gave up 114 once, but that's not like 130. Yeah. So that gives me a lot of hope. And then we're talking about our thin bench, but we're not going to do hockey shifts.
Right.
We're going to have guys on there, solid guys out there at all times, so,
and the trade
injuries could be the biggest. Because I agree with you. We are thin. So injuries could really screw us over.
Well, if you get an injury to LeBron or AD, your season is toast anyways.
Yeah, but you can say that about any team's superstar. Right. I mean, what would happen? What happens if any name the superstar?
You lose Ant-Man.
What's that?
You lose Ant-Man or one of those star players in their team, and they're not going to be the same team either.
No, nobody's going to be the same team. I mean, Warriors, you lose Curry, bye-bye. The only team right now, and I hate to say it, is that can sustain one star going down is Boston.
Right.
God,
they've done such a terrific job of building that team, man.
So much so that the owners are going to. So much so that the owners are trying to sell it because the payroll is going to be outrageous.
One of the things I want to mention in the chat on Twitch, Parade on Figueroa, great to have you back, my friend. Truly appreciate it. He said, would you guys be interested in Markelle Fultz as a backup? He's still a free agent out there, which kind of surprised me. Yes, the former #1 draft pick, fall from grace. I will say, as someone who I think, because pushing the pace coming off the bench, I think is something that the Lakers have not really focused on. And Gabe Vincent, I don't think is going to be that guy to push the pace as your backup point guard. That's just not what he does. I think that would be something that the Lakers might want to look into. But the problem is you have JHS, you have already a backup to the backup. So outside of just getting him a look at camp, and if he could really shine in camp, outside of that, I'd just say you can give him a look. But I don't know where you could find a place for him unless you decide to move JHS.
Well, we have to have a consolidation trade because we've got any trade we make is going to be a 2 or 3 for 1 trade.
That has to happen.
We need to open up roster spots because
we don't have any more.
We have an advantage that we can bring some guys in that other teams can't bring in.
And here was the big, while I blame Rob for the situation we found ourselves in going into the summer, I don't really blame him for some of the things he wasn't able to do, because when you look at what was going on,
the environment changed.
Look at, for instance, Denver took him 3 second-rounders to dump Jackson. 3 second-rounders. We only have 4 in our cupboard. You know, so yeah, you say, well, we should have, traded, second rounders that had some of these teams take them off. But the prices that people were asking for were outrageous. People that had some leverage that could actually do something, to accommodate people. Those people were, the prices were on anything you wanted to do. I mean, 5 first rounders for Mikal Bridges. I mean, the guy's a good player, but come on, man. There was a handful of teams that had flexibility to do stuff this summer, and they were trying to totally take advantage of it, to the point where it kind of priced a lot of the moves that we could have made out of the, and even if we were to cut and even if you say, well, cut and stretch somebody, we're only 45,000 under the cap. So if we did that, we open up but that first year payment to that guy that we just cut pushes over the second apron there.
And we're not going to go over that. We know that.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it just, his hands were kind of tied in that respect. And that's why I think that, my thing is, we got guys. I think Austin will be better this coming year. He's been better every single year. Rui's been improving. I think he'll be better. I think Vanderbilt will be better. I think all these guys will be a little better. Just how much better? Will they make big steps?
Theoretic factor.
Or will they take? If they take a sizable step, we're hoping that we can hang, and I think we can. I mean, right now when you look at the team, no, we're not a contender. But if some of these younger guys take another step in their development, which is not out,
and LeBron and AD can play like they did last year.
Exactly. We'll see. But the 30 game thing, I don't think we have any choice. What are we going to do?
Yeah, we're going to replace Rui with Connect at game 10, and maybe Vando will be ready at game 20, and we'll have give these guys a chance. That's the whole thing.
The thing is, though, in the
one
Western
of the things that we're building toward now is continuity and stability.
Well, I'm saying if in the Western Conference, in a very tough Western Conference, by game 30, the place of where the Lakers may be at, if it goes off the rails, may already be decided. So,
well, I don't think so. I don't think
you can still make a trade and make the play in and go through that whole process again if you have to.
But
because it's so enjoyable for us to do so.
Yeah. But my thing is, what trade could we make that would change things? What trade could we make that would change it significantly, increase our chances? We might be able to upgrade a position a little bit, but when you consider that most of those guys that we can upgrade cost money, and you have to combine some contracts. I mean, especially this time of year, we could combine all of these minimum deals, but who has 4 or 5, 6 spots on their roster to take a bunch of guys in?
And you can only add one filler in it.
So it's like, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's not a matter of choice. The 30 days games, I think it's just reality of the way it is. It's going to, I just don't see it at this point in the season with the asking prices. With only a couple of real people on the trade block and the asking prices for those real people as high as they are, I don't see a trade that benefits us much at all. So, I mean, 30 games.
December 15th, we sign a big center and maybe a defensive guard.
We'll see.
Our problem and what we really found out about last year's team and why these 6 through 10 players, or why the whole team had a problem, is we had too many one-way players. And you try to cobble together a starting lineup, or any effective rotation with one-way players is really difficult, because to really cover the offense and defense, you need 10 guys on the court if you only have one-way players. So we've got to do some things. Like, one of the priorities seems to be they want Reeves to be able to guard. And so his defense is going to be a big push this year.
And he picked it up. He, to his credit, he down the stretch he was doing pretty
better. He was better.
Yeah, I mean,
so that maybe could solve that problem. D'Lo, if he can really have a career year, you can live with one guy like that. But here's where it comes down to: what kind of moves do you want to make that you could make? And if you look at the Celtics, the two things the Lakers need to do is they need an elite defensive guard, and they need an elite center to go along with AD. If they would do those two things, if they would get Marcus Smart, for example, and
Market, no.
He's way too expensive, and he's over the hill.
You need somebody who can shut down the other team's guards, because you could put a guy like that along with D'Lo.
Can't do that anymore.
We have guys like in that. We already have Vando can do that. I've seen, Vando guards 1 through 3 as good as anybody I've seen.
Listen, I've had several. I've recommended if Vando could be back and healthy, I would have no problem starting Vando at the shooting guard position, because basically what he plays is shooting guard.
And and let's
what you can defend in this league is what position you can really play.
And we also, Vincent is a quality defensive player, but we forget about it because he didn't play for much of last year. Right. In the playoffs, his offense was rusty as hell, but his defense was pretty good. So I got hope that we've already got those guys that we can stick in there when we need to.
Yeah, the big problem we got is that we've got 2 elite offensive players that, if they could play defense, if D'Lo and Reeves could play defense at a high level, they wouldn't be a problem. They would be a terrific backcourt. Right now, they're a great offensive court, but a poor defensive court, and they can probably still win 21-8.
Well, like I said, Austin played really well down the stretch defensively. The whole team did. I mean, 110 defensive rating is very, very, very good. So,
and also too, you gotta even though JJ is an offensive oriented coach, I just have a lot more faith in his ability to even put together a defense than I did with Darvin Ham.
Well, you know what?
You start with the right players to begin with.
The genius move he made, though, was bringing McMillan on to his staff.
I do like.
He is a defensive guy
on the staff.
Yeah, he is a defensive guy, right. And so I thought, I'm thinking that's probably what he was thinking when he hired him.
Well, that's the last thing I wanted to cover before we head on out is JJ Redick himself. Tom has already proclaimed him the next Pat Riley in words before, greatest this, greatest that. Yep. And he has not even coached anything above the 4th grade. I want to see it in action. I want to see him out at there coaching. He can talk a big game, and he can go and make the comments that he does as far as, well, the ones in regards to past players.
It's the Jamie Sweet. It's the Jamie Sweet path. I don't believe anything until it happens.
He hasn't coached, Tom. He hasn't coached. You cannot tell me how he's going to be as a coach, because he hasn't coached. All he's done is
I can make a projection of what I expect him to coach based upon what he's done as a player, what he's done as a broadcaster, what he's done as a podcaster.
But I can also tell you that I have not seen him coach out there NBA.
And so you're going to put him in the same level as, let's say, any other brand new coach that you haven't seen coach?
If they have
NBA, hire the guy. Why would you even hire the guy?
Does he have any assistant NBA coaching?
No. Well, first off,
does he have any major college
NBA coach? Because the assistant NBA coach's job in the NBA is not anything like.
Well, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to share you my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion just as much as you are yourself. But he hasn't coached in a major college. He hasn't coached.
Your opinion is nothing more than bias because he hasn't coached.
The way I look at JJ,
you and I haven't coached an NBA game. Would we be given this? Would we be afforded the same luxury? We've been analyzing.
You're going on the point. Are you trying to make the argument, which a lot of the idiots on the air do, that he doesn't deserve this opportunity?
I didn't say he doesn't deserve it. I did say
You're impugning that he doesn't deserve it.
No, I didn't say I'm impugning nothing. I am just saying I have yet to evaluate him because I don't know if he'll be a good coach or a bad
I'm not
coach.
going to make any judgment on him until I actually see what he does.
Yeah, that
doesn't
should be
matter how
fair.
smart he seems. It doesn't matter if he's answering the questions right. It doesn't matter if he's choosing the right starting lineup. It doesn't matter if he's recommended by some of the best people in the world. It doesn't matter if the Lakers believe in him 100%. He's going to have to prove it to me.
That's absolutely damn right, Michael.
One
thing
with JJ that gives me some hope. I'm kind of with you.
Hey, wait a minute, Michael. You haven't seen him play. You haven't seen him coach.
Well, I'm saying that gives. I was actually going to support you, Tom. If you just,
I know, I was just. I know, Michael. I was just giving Jamie a little shot on the side.
You know, it's this way. The one thing that great coaches have, and you can look at Phil Jackson, his ability to communicate with his players, his communication skills, and I think JJ has that in spades. I think he will be a good communicator. So that's where I think where I'm looking at it and why he could be successful. That's the reason why I think he could be successful. Because I mean, let's face it. You looked at, Phil didn't run his practices. He had all those longtime assistants that was with him that was basically running the show as far as his practices and stuff was that concerned. His gift was his communication with his players and getting them to buy into him. I think JJ might have that ability to do that. Now I'm with you, Gerald. I want to see it.
I want to see it. That's all I'm saying. I want to
see it. Obviously,
before you make an opinion, you should see it on the court because he could absolutely.
And he will make mistakes. He will make mistakes being a rookie coach. I don't think there's any doubt of that.
Yeah, but will they be plenty enough to cost the Lakers, or will they be something where you can get on by and he can evaluate and make the right decisions going forward? That's all I want to see. That's all.
The other side of it is that you have to look at the Lakers are approaching.
I can't go on faith
in a totally different manner than they did the last few years. This is no more of the use all your assets to go all in because this is LeBron's last year or AD is 30 or this is the last chance for the two guys. They're not doing that anymore.
I know that's what got us in trouble in the first place.
And that is what got us in trouble in the first place. And they have recognized that they need stability and continuity. And the only way to get that is to hire a long-term coach, invest in him, start looking for building a young team where you only trade for guys that you can grow and develop yourself. You don't go in and you don't bring in a 32 or 35-year-old superstar. You don't go and risk everything on Zach LaVine and you just basically play smart and figure that we've got a pretty good team now. We're maybe three players away from being a championship squad. Let's work hard to get those players over the next couple of years, make the transition from LeBron, build a team around AD, but get sustainable Lakers excellence. And I hope it's not just a temporary situation. I hope that this is a long-felt strategic move on behalf of the Lakers because it's exactly what they need to do. And the heart of that, and the only way that can work is JJ Redick.
But with Anthony Davis, he's 31 now. If you're on this 2-3 year plan, he's 31. He was born in March 11th, so he's 31. So he'll be on your plan, he'll be in his already mid-30s by the time that plan gets started. So,
well, the Lakers plan to win this year. They're hoping to win this year. If they make a good trade, they could win this year. There's a chance.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'd say the odds are 10-1.
The Vegas odds has them quite a bit higher.
I'm sure they do, but that's Vegas.
All right. Michael,
do you think the Lakers have any chance at all? Michael, what do you think?
Like I said, we've got younger guys that still have room to take a step or two. It depends on how big of a step they take. I think, like I said, I like Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is a killer, man. He's got He's got the it thing.
He could be him.
Yeah, he could be. I mean, he is. I really like him as a player, and I think he'll be better this year. I think it's smart to have Rui as a starter as opposed to coming off the bench. He does much better as a starter than he does as off the bench. Rui, down that stretch of the year last year, was 16.7 points a game on 57% from the field, 43% from three, and 5.5 boards, and four threes a game. And he played some pretty good defense.
And he's our best mid-range. He's our killer at mid-range shot.
I mean, he was really good down the stretch, and I don't see a reason why he couldn't. And that, 16.7 as your fifth option, that's not bad. That's pretty good having a guy scoring at that kind of clip as your fifth option. So, there are reasons, there's a couple of reasons for me to be optimistic. Will it be enough? Probably not. But we'll have to wait and see. That's why they played the games. I mean, look at, Boston had a great run last year, but they made it all the way to the finals, and they didn't have one series that they faced a team that didn't have their star out. I mean, injuries play everything as well. I mean, every single round they had one or two. I mean, Indiana was, gave them hell, and then Halliburton went out, and they've still given them hell. So I mean, injuries. You play that's why you play the games. We'll see what happens. I look at everybody talks about the West, and it's stacked and it's tough, but there are teams that are better than they were last year, but there's teams that have fallen off as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. I think OKC will, is the team to beat because of the acquisitions they made. I'm not sold on Minnesota as a team that we can't beat. Denver, I'm not sold on Denver as a team that we can't beat. I mean, they beat us in, they beat us in the playoffs last year, but we were down 3 rotation players and they were completely healthy. And then we lost that last game against them when, AD, dislocated his shoulder or whatever that injury was, played with one arm, and we lose by 2 points. I mean, and now that they don't have KCP, I think we're better than Denver now. We're better than the Clippers now. So there's teams that we're better than that were ahead of us. And then there's teams that may come up behind us. So I don't see us out of the question being, making the top. I think we can make the top 6. I really do. And then when the playoffs start, a lot of it has to do with who's available.
Good point.
We'll see.
Good points.
But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Lakerholics.com. These two guys up there fight off Jamie Sweet all week long at Lakerholics.com. Actually, it's Laker Tom fights Jamie Sweet, and Michael's the guy in the middle, probably just shaking his. If you take a look at the picture as far as the JPEG that I made, Michael's the one that's trying to eat his dinner, and he's looking at these guys that are just acting all crazy. Those are the Lakerholics, and he's just like, "Why am I here? I'm just trying to enjoy my meal." If you take a look at the JPEG I put for today's show for these guys, but once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break here. We've got more shows coming up this week as training camp starts. But please, if you want to continue the conversation, please go out of your way to go ahead and check the great articles, the great responses, and the great crowd that they have at Lakerholics.com. Do yourself a favor and stop by there. And then, of course, also like and subscribe for here. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Become a member today for $2.99 a month. We'll be back for more great stuff. Joe and I have hopefully maybe tomorrow. Looking forward to it on the eve of Family Picture Day. Can't wait for that to happen. LeBron and son taking those nice photos, and it's going to look so great and fantastic. And yeah, Joe will be so pleased when he sees that happening. And all I'll say is that it is what it is. You get it out of the way.
Father and son basketball, though, is really a unique a unique thing. I mean,
well, just get it out of and when I played with my daughters, soccer, I understand that aspect of it, but nor was I asking them to be on an MLS team with me. But
I love LeBron. I love LeBron taking Bronny inside and bullying him. I think that was great.
I'm just gonna say that they just need to get out of the way. Second quarter, first game, get them on the court. Make NBA history, then send him for the entire year to South Bay. If he's ever going to become a player, he needs to be there and develop every single day. He does not need to be on the bench for the Lakers. He needs to just be at South Bay every single day, because right now he's not an NBA player. Anybody who thinks he is just kidding themselves right now. Simply point blank.
I'm not so sure about that.
I am very sure about that. I saw him live in Summer League. I saw him every game in Summer League. Evaluate right now.
You think he'll succeed as an NBA player?
No.
You think he'll get
the odds? Well, again, as I always say, since he was drafted, the number 55 pick. Okay, let's put his name aside. Let's call him Tom Wong. Let's call him Tom Wong. Okay. Well, actually, Isaiah Wong was last year, if I remember correctly, from Miami Heat. But the number 55 pick, guys, in the last 10 years, only one has gotten a second contract. That's a 90% failure rate.
But the 55 pick, who's the son of the greatest player in the history of the league,
who's also a 6'1" guard who can't shoot, that can't be a point guard.
I don't think that's been proven yet. I don't think that's been proven yet.
Well, so far,
a 6'1" point guard, 6'1" player that a 6'1" shooting guard is not ideal because he's not a point guard.
Well, but he's 6'2".
He gets point guard.
By the time he puts his shoes on, he's 6'2". There are other guys that are 6'2".
He gets the point guard label because he's 6'1". Period. He's not. And during the summer league, he didn't initiate the offense.
He's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard.
Yeah, he was playing off guard.
Yeah.
So now there are examples of guys that have been that short as shooting guard that was made their was pretty good defense. Avery.
I just think it's premature to count out a guy who's got that athletic genes.
Oh, I'm not counting him out. But Gerald's point is correct. I mean, it's the.
Oh, it's a long. It may be a long shot, but I think it's 50. It has to be at least 50-50. A guy, he's got too much genetic talent there and character. I think that he's the kind of guy who can.
We did talk. It was actually in the chat to give you some credence. We talked in the chat earlier while you guys were talking about Scottie Pippen Jr. When he played here, he did not look like an NBA player. He was wild. He was out of control. He could not shoot. So there was a lot of issues. And he's smaller. He's just like Bronny. He is 6 feet, 6'1". Well, lo and behold, he got into the right system in Memphis. They were able to work on his deficiencies. Were able to improve him. And now he looks like he is an NBA player.
And he got plenty of run because every single guy on the team got hurt.
Exactly. So it's by circumstance, but he has improved as an NBA player. He looked really good in summer league, and could
maybe JHS will actually turn into something. Who knows?
Maybe. So he'll be available once training camp starts. So we'll see. Again, training camp is starting this upcoming week, so we're looking forward to it.
When's the first game?
4th. The first exhibition. Yes.
Yeah, they're doing Friday, I think.
Yeah, I think they're doing 2 games in Palm Springs because it's only 110 there right now. So
yeah, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, I've been there when it's 121, so it's not fun.
What's the temperature like now in Vegas?
It was 105 yesterday.
Wow.
So
I had to go to California City and it was 115, and I'm driving uphill in the mountains at 115. It was like.
Yeah, it's this nice, cool fall weather that we're having. Yeah. Yeah. Unlike you, Michael, you just got to be just grinning and bearing it in that terrible Hawaii weather.
I know. I mean, it's, 80, 81.
Sucks to be you, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it does get all the way down to 65 or 70.
That's so terrible.
Really?
Oh, Yes. And on that note, thank you, Em. Truly appreciate it. John Constant, he is doing shorts every now and then, Em, but I am communicating with him. He did reach out, and I thought he was going to do something last week as far as full show, but he's got all these channels access to. So he, hopefully we will see John Costa doing something soon, but I know he's been very busy. So hopefully we can get him back on the show, or hopefully he can do his show, Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk, on here as well. But please like and subscribe. We do always need your help. Become a member today, $2.99 a month. But also make sure you hit up these guys when they can argue and go ahead and tell you why this and that, and tell Jamie he's an idiot 500 times a week at Lakerholics.com. So yes, as Laker Tom does. So I will say that it has been a great experience I've always had with Lakerholics.com. So please be a part of it today at Lakerholics.com. So guys, hoping that you'll be back here this week. We'll already have some training camp feedback already, and actually, like Michael said, a exhibition game under the belt. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of wind of that and see what happens. Will JHS be the MVP of training camp once again? We'll find out and wait and see. But
I'm going to go for Bronny.
Oh my God. All right. Maybe he won't go for 0 for 8 from 3-pointer like the day I was there watching him. So I will say that it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you joining us. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow night to preview training camp even more, and Family Picture Day coming up very soon with Bronny and Braun right here on Darren Bronny MVP. You guys are on. The guys that are just do not see the forest from the trees when it comes to Bronny James. It's just amazing your positivity on Bronny, despite all the stuff that
the problem with that is they can't see the tree for the forest because of the forest.
Okay, that tree is still growing, I guess. Still like a little shrub right now.
How far the seed fell from the tree, from the father tree.
It didn't fall. That needs to get a little bit taller, much taller, and better shooting. If he shoots like his dad, then we wouldn't have this question. But yeah, that's the problem. He doesn't shoot like his dad right now. At least he doesn't like shoot like his dad did last year. How about that? Okay, because we want to make sure we clarify that, because LeBron goes all over the place on his shooting. But once again, it is he's a sapling right now. How about that? Okay, he's a sapling. I'll take that, Darren. Good point. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be back tomorrow.
Count those genes out, man. Don't count those genes out. That's all I gotta say.
We'll see. All right, he's got it. Well, we got him for 4 years, so there you go. Well, 3 plus an option. So there you go. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Michael, Laker Tom.
We're going to trade him to the Vegas team as soon as LeBron takes over.
That's true. Good point. Absolutely. They're talking about building another arena.
We'll probably get a couple of draft picks in return.
Yeah.
2 first-round picks from an expansion team for Bronny. I think that's a great deal.
Actually, I heard a podcast on that. I think it was Real GM that did that other expansion, and that was the deal, that they wanted to trade Bronny James to the Vegas expansion team, just like that scenario. And they said, would you take? I'll do it for unprotected picks. And the guy said,
picks, the first 2 unprotected picks.
I think it was Bobby Marks. Bobby Marks said no, I will not trade for Bronny James.
Bobby Marks says no to anything, Lakers.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Michael, Laker Tom, thanks so much again for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for more good stuff right here at the Lakers Fast Break.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.